It's time for a new habit. That habit is eating only good fat. Why is eating only good fat so important? It is likely to determine how long you live. All right. Often when I get in a conversation about eating fat, I usually get one of two responses. The first one is isn't that going to raise your cholesterol? And then the second one is, isn't that going to cause a heart attack? I'd be curious what your cholesterol is. So we have this assumption that fat as a whole is bad for you, all right? Well, based on facts and common sense, I'm going to make that belief absolutely impossible, all right? Then I'm going to cover the three basic types of fat. We're going to figure out which one is bad for you. And then we're going to take a look at some of the longest living people in history and their relationship with fat. All right? But in the end, what matters most, if you believe it's a must to eat only good fat, then you will continue it as a habit. I'm going to prove to you right now, it's a must to eat only good fat. All right? So first of all, what are the facts about fat? All right? The brain is 60% fat. That right there alone makes it impossible for fat as a whole to be bad for you. All right? Our hormones are all made up of fat. Our body composition, when you take out the water, we are still 44% fat, all right? Fat has its own metabolic process. We have a certain better way to break down fat in the body, all right? Now, the building block of the body is the cell. The cell makes up the tissue makes up the organs make up the body, all right? So, and that cell, wrapped around every cell is a membrane, okay? And that membrane is made completely of fat. Whoa! Fat as a whole cannot be bad. It's responsible for so many things in the body. It is absolutely necessary and essential for life. So what's going on? What is bad fat, all right? You know, with fat being responsible for so much, I believe it's imperative that whoever has a body be able to understand what good and bad fat is and ensure that they get the right fat. I'm going to make that understanding for you simple right now, all right? There's three basic kinds of fat. The first one is saturated fat, all right? Saturated. If you look at it on a molecular level, it looks like a Lincoln log. It's straight, it's organized, and they stack together really nicely. What that does is, at room temperature, saturated fat is a solid, okay? So that's going to be your animal fats, your butter, and your coconut oil, all right? So with it being this organized, it's hard. It doesn't want to react with other things. It doesn't want to lose electrons, okay? So it stays stable. It stays in its original form, all right? And the market says it's valuable. The market says coconut oil, $45 a gallon. Butter, $24 a gallon, all right? Could the market be wrong? Could this bad fat be valuable? That doesn't make much sense, does it? All right? So, saturated fat, very stable at room temperature. The market says it's good, and it does not react, okay? Because it's fully saturated. Now, the next one is monounsaturated fat. Mono meaning one, all right? So this type of fat, this is the second type of fat, and it has one spot where it could react. It has one hitch where it's not saturated, okay? And that creates one spot for it to react. But that's only one spot it could react, okay? So it's still fairly stable. But since it's not straight like the saturated fat, it's got a little kink in it, it doesn't stack as well, and it tends to be a fluid at room temperature. This is your olive oil, your peanut oil, but there's also a lot of mono unsaturated fats in your animal fats, okay? So, and the market says, hey, this stuff is also valuable. Olive oil, $30 a gallon, all right? And it's not reactive, okay? It's only got one spot where it could react. So that brings us to the third fat, all right? That's called polyunsaturated fat. Polyun means many spots where it's not saturated, so it has many kinks and has many spots to react, okay? And so in turn it will oxidize, or it will break down. It will change its form, and that form is toxic to the body. This is not rocket science. It is very simple, all right? Especially when you look at it at a molecular level, it's just easy to see. So many times these explanations get clogged with all these terms and understandings. Folks, it's simple, all right? And the market says it's not that valuable. Corn oil, $8 a gallon. Safflower oil, $4 a gallon, all right? So polyunsaturated fats are bad news because they break down and in turn cause problems, all right? So I want to read a review article about polyunsaturated fats, many spots to react type fat, all right? This is from the Department of Biology from the University of Calgary, all right? And a review article is just a statement of the understanding of the science of a particular subject today, all right? You may not retain all this, but I just want you to kind of hear all the things that these polyunsaturated fats are responsible for, all right? So polyunsaturated fats are highly susceptible to pre-oxidation. They are prone to excision by members of the PLA family of enzymes, meaning when you put these PUFAs, these polyunsaturated fats in your cells, they get cut out real easy. So then the cell membrane breaks down. FFAs, free fatty acids, and PLAs themselves act as signaling molecules to modify gating behavior of various types of ion channels. All right, now it's modifying these ion channels. It is not making this function better. All right. In addition, they can act on a substrate of other lipid-based intra and extracellular signaling cascades, including signaling systems regulating inflammation. It's not going to make inflammation better. All right. And there's many circles that believe that the root of all disease is caused from inflammation, all right? And PUFAs, when they react, are going to increase inflammation. Moreover, through their effect on membrane microarchitecture, they may change the functions of integral membrane proteins such as stretch-activated ion channels, alter lipid microdome organization, disrupt the organization of transmembrane signaling complexes, or alter cellular process such as fusion and fission. Fusion and fission, this is how we make energy. They are not going to increase the amount of energy you can make. They're going to make it worse, all right? So these polyunsaturated fats, when they mutate, are going to cause these problems, all right? They are important regulation of intrinsic neural excitability, synaptic transmissions, molecular mechanisms underlying neural plasticity. They affect the ability of the nerve to signal and move and change. Polyunsaturated fats that have many spots to react, break down and oxidize and cause all this dysfunction in the cell. All right? All this dysfunction. You know, to have disease, you have a diseased organ or a diseased tissue, well, that's made up of cells, so the cell has to be diseased. What's causing the cell to be diseased? Inflammation from polyunsaturated fats. All right? So, where are we getting all these polyunsaturated fats, and how do we get them out of the diet? All right? We get them because our fried foods is the one. And we've all heard this before. But to really understand it has a real negative effect and how it can affect your life is a different understanding. And when you think from this spot, you're going to make better decisions. But it's in our fries. It's in our cheap baked goods, okay? Those are obvious places. But what about the person that says, hey, I'm going to order a salad, but then they pour on dressing? Well, what kind of fat's in that dressing? Often it's soybean oil or cottonseed oil. These are PUFAs. So you might think, I'm making a great decision here. I'm going to eat a salad. But the fact of the matter is, you're pouring on these polyunsaturated fats that will have so many negative effects on your body. All right? So we must get these out of the diet. How do I make this as simple as absolutely possible? I got a chart here. Take a look at the chart, all right? Anything that's in blue on the chart is a polyunsaturated fat. Pick the oils that don't have a lot of blue and get them out of your diet and eat the other ones. And when you start to look through it, it becomes obvious. The valuable, known, good fats don't have a lot of blue in them. Coconut oil, olive oil, butter, your animal fats, all these things, they are so good for you. Get out the reactive blue fat and you're going to live a long life, all right? So, sure, there, great, that's the science. But I like real life events, either in history or in my body, that I can use to help align with and understand the science, all right? So we have that here. So I got a little story. One day my little girl's like, hey Dad, and she reads these Guinness books and all these things that take place in the most extreme, and she's like, the oldest living person ever was 175, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, what? But no, it wasn't. I looked it up. Jeanne Calment, she's a French lady, she lived to be 121 years old, all right? And I wasn't looking for this, it just fell in my lap. And I started to read, and she attested her long life to olive oil that she drank and rubbed on her skin, 2.2 pounds of chocolate a week, and port wine. Wow. And she lived to be 121. What is going on here? But I look at that profile of those fats. The cocoa butter, almost no polyunsaturated fats. Olive oil, almost no polyunsaturated fats. I was just like amazed. I was like, this matches the scientific understanding perfectly. So I was really excited, and I share it with a friend of mine. I send it out to him. All right, he gets it. The next day, he fires back to me. All right, now she's the longest confirmed lifespan in history. I think she died in 99. All right, but he sends back to me the 2 current lifespans alive today, currently living, and he sends back to me, and I look at them. And the first one says, I attest my long life to bacon, which I have in the morning, and I eat throughout the day. The next one said, I attest mine to bacon and eggs that I eat every day, and some chocolate and wine. And I'm just like, whoa, first of all, I didn't ask them to say, hey, what's your fat content like in your life, and is that what made your life long? They automatically, when they were asked the question, what is the reason for your long life, all 3 of them referred to the fat that they consume in their life, whether they realized it or not. And those profiles of that fat, there's almost no polyunsaturated fats in their diets. Wow. And you might say, well, that's only 3 people. No, that's the 3 most successful people in history out of, let's say, 14 billion people, right? Polyunsaturated fats are likely to determine how long you live and how healthy of a life you live. So let's make it super simple. Get the chart. Look at the blue on the chart. Get those polyunsaturated fats out of your diet. Get the other fats in. If you do this, perfect health will become common sense.